Okay, everybody, I just want to talk about how we're going to prep our tourniquet and how we're going to stow it. Now, I know that you probably have a multitude of pouches for where your tourniquet is going to end up. You might just have it elastic to your chest rig, you might have it sitting in an IFAC, but it's important that we set them up properly before we head out into the field. Now, we need to make sure that our tourniquets are set up to be used on someone else, but set up so that they can be used on ourselves as well. So with the cat, which is probably the most common tourniquet you guys are gonna run into, is all we're gonna do is we're gonna run about 8 inches of Velcro through the buckle. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna fold it to the middle. Once we're here, we're gonna bring the rest of the strap around on itself. Make sure that the rod sits securely in the clips and our tourniquet is prepared. You can see that the soft tee and the Sam XT set up the same way. Now the reason why we do this is so that when we need to use the tourniquet on ourselves, and say we have an injury to our arm, if we put it on our own leg, it's not going to be any different than if we put it on another person. But the thing is, if we're down to one hand, we need to make sure that when we pull this tourniquet away, and make sure your tourniquet is accessible at day or night with either hand, because you could have an injury on either hand. As soon as we take this tourniquet out and open it, we have a nice loop to place our arm through, and that's important. Now, to continue with the self-application, the only time you'll be required to use one hand is obviously if one of your hands is injured. But now, all we need to do is find that strap, pull that tourniquet nice and high, do our best to keep that rod and windlass in an accessible point, pull the strap as secure as possible, try to keep as much clothing as you can out of the way, secure the strap, remove the rod. We may even have to adjust it, and we're going to start turning. Now, it's important with any tourniquet that we crank it down until the bleeding stops. A good rule of thumb is turn it till you can't turn it anymore, and then try one more. That's pretty good. Once we've secured the rod, we want to make sure that our band goes through the clip as well. This is important because now we can capture that Velcro through that rod securing strap. Because now, even if this gets caught, we won't necessarily lose our tourniquet. Now, we want to assess that bleeding is stopped, or we can quickly just check for a distal pulse. If there is one available, we shouldn't be able to palpate it. Just to demonstrate why it's so important to capture this little bit of Velcro, if we were to leave it outside the D-ring or the D-clip, all that could happen is if this gets caught, we lose our tourniquet and we're bleeding again. The deployment of your soft tee and your Sam XT is very similar.